My girlfriend cheated with my best friend while living rent-free in my apartment, so I evicted them both and bought the building months later. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I thought I had the perfect setup: steady job, my own apartment, and a girlfriend I adored. For years, I'd hustled to afford that place. It wasn't fancy, but every inch of it felt earned. I'd worked late nights, skipped vacations, and lived off instant noodles just to make those rent payments on time. When I finally turned the key in that door for the first time, I remember thinking, this is where my real life begins. Then came Mia. She was warm, funny, and full of energy. The kind of person who could make a dull Tuesday feel like a celebration. When she lost her job, I didn't hesitate to offer her a place to stay. "Just until I get back on my feet," she'd said, her voice trembling like she hated asking. I told her not to worry. I had it covered. After all, what's love if not helping each other when things fall apart? At first, it felt right. She'd cook dinner, light candles, and tell me she couldn't believe how lucky she was to have me. I believed her. I wanted to. It made all those years of struggle feel worth it. Then there was Jake, my best friend since high school. We'd survived bad breakups, job losses, and hangovers together. He was practically family. He'd swing by the apartment after work, grab a beer, and talk about everything from sports to stupid memories that still made us laugh. Mia got along with him, maybe even too well, but at the time, I saw it as a blessing. Two people I cared about getting along. It couldn't be a bad thing, right? Back then, I felt like I'd built the life I always dreamed of: love, loyalty, stability. But I had no idea that both of them were already building something else, behind my back. It started small, so small I almost missed it. Mia began dressing up more often, even on days she claimed she wasn't leaving the apartment. "Just trying to feel good about myself again," she'd say with a half smile. And I believed her. Jake started dropping by more too, sometimes without even texting first. "Just in the area, man," he'd shrug, cracking open a beer before I could answer. At first, it felt harmless. We were all close. Sometimes I'd come home from work to find them watching movies together or laughing over inside jokes I didn't understand. It stung, but I told myself I was being insecure. She's your girlfriend. He's your best friend. What could possibly go wrong? But the energy changed. Mia began defending Jake when I teased him. If I mentioned boundaries, like maybe he shouldn't be around so often, she'd snap. "Why are you being controlling?" It threw me off. She used to appreciate how grounded I was. Now suddenly, everything I did felt like a problem. One night, I got home late. The apartment was quiet except for faint laughter from the living room. I peeked in to see them sitting way too close on the couch, the glow of the TV flickering across their faces. When they noticed me, they jumped apart, pretending to laugh at something on screen. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "Hey, what are we watching?" I asked, trying to sound normal. Jake mumbled something about a movie and left soon after, muttering he had work early. I didn't think much of it until I noticed his jacket still hanging by the door long after he'd gone. I stood there staring at it, my mind spinning. It was such a small thing, just a forgotten jacket. But something deep in me whispered, it wasn't forgotten at all. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The apartment didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a stage, and I was the fool who hadn't realized the script had changed. Mia started guarding her phone like it contained state secrets. Whenever it buzzed, she'd tilt the screen away, smile faintly, then claim it was just a work friend. But she didn't have a job anymore. One evening, I walked into the kitchen and saw her texting, her face lit by the cold glow of her screen. I asked, "Who's that?" and she replied too quickly, "Just my cousin." My gut twisted. She didn't even have a cousin named Ben. Still, I laughed it off, pretending not to notice the way her hands trembled. Jake, meanwhile, had grown distant. He stopped calling as often, but somehow showed up at the weirdest times, always when Mia was alone. Once, I came home early and found him in my living room, claiming he'd just dropped by to borrow something. Mia's eyes darted everywhere but mine. That night, I called our mutual friend, Eric. I didn't tell him what I suspected, just asked if he'd seen Jake lately. There was a pause, then Eric hesitated. Yeah, man. I saw him last week at that cafe near your place. With Mia, I thought you were there too." My heart sank. I tried to stay calm. "You sure it was them?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Positive," he said quietly. "They looked close." I hung up and just sat there in silence, staring at the dark TV screen. My mind screamed no, but my heart whispered, "You already know." Still, I needed proof. Real proof. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront them yet. I was going to find out the truth, with my own eyes. I didn't sleep that night. Every laugh they'd shared, every whisper, every excuse, they all replayed in my head like a looping nightmare. By morning, I had a plan. I told Mia the bathroom pipe was leaking again, and said I'd install a small security camera in the living room, just in case the landlord needed proof. She barely looked up from her phone and muttered, "Whatever makes you feel better." For the next few days, I acted normal. We ate dinner together, watched TV, even kissed goodnight like nothing was wrong. But my heart pounded every time I left for work. I wasn't going to work early. I was driving around the block, waiting, watching. On the third day, I came home and checked the footage. At first, it was boring. Mia scrolling through her phone, making coffee. But then, a knock at the door. Jake walked in, smiling like he owned the place. My breath caught as I watched them sit close on the couch. At first, it was just talking, laughing, touching her hair. Then, like a punch to the chest, I saw it. Her hand on his leg, his lips on hers. I froze. My whole body went numb. I wanted to scream, break the screen, do something. But I couldn't move. It wasn't just betrayal, it was mockery. The couch I'd picked out, the walls I'd painted, the home I'd built for us. They used my space as their hiding place. When the video ended, I just sat there in silence, staring at the paused frame. Jake's hand still on her face. Her eyes closed like she'd found comfort in my best friend. I didn't cry, not yet. I just felt hollow, like my world had cracked open, and I was watching everything I'd loved fall straight through. That night, I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. Anger was there, sure, but beneath it, something colder had taken root. A kind of clarity I'd never felt before. I realized yelling or begging wouldn't fix anything. They'd made their choice. Now I'd make mine. When Mia woke up, I made her breakfast. Pancakes, just how she liked them. She smiled, surprised. "You're in a good mood," she said softly. I just shrugged. "Trying to be," I replied. My calm seemed to put her at ease, which was exactly what I wanted. She had no idea I'd already downloaded the footage, printed copies of the lease, and called a lawyer to confirm what I suspected. Since she wasn't on the lease, I could legally evict her. For the next few days, I played my role perfectly. I still kissed her goodnight. I still texted Jake as if nothing had changed. I even invited him over for beers that weekend, pretending like old times. Inside, though, I was stone. Every smile was rehearsed. Every love you was hollow, but necessary. I started documenting everything, messages, timestamps, even the footage backup. It wasn't about revenge yet. It was about control. about reclaiming the power they'd stolen the moment they decided my kindness made me weak. One night, as Mia laughed on the phone in the next room, I sat by the window, watching the city lights blur behind the glass. My hands were steady now. I realized I didn't want to scream or break anything. I wanted justice. When I finally spoke to my reflection, the words came out low and sharp. If they could betray me in silence, I'll destroy them in silence too. The plan was ready. All I had to do now was wait for the perfect moment to make them see what they'd lost. I decided to give them one last dinner, something normal, like the nights before everything cracked. I cooked pasta, set the table with the stupid little candles Mia liked, poured wine into their glasses while my hand stayed steady. Inside, my heart was a drum, but the face I showed was calm and small talk easy. "How was your day?" "Nothing much, you?" I asked. They answered, laughing like everything was fine. After dessert, I said I wanted to show them something funny from earlier. Then I hit play. The TV filled the room with our living room's own images. Jake's knock, the way he sat too close, the kiss that felt like betrayal on loop. For a second, the only sounds were the hum of the refrigerator and the footage. Mia's fork clattered. Jake's jaw went tight like he'd swallowed a rock. What is that?" Mia whispered, voice thin. She looked small, like a child caught with a lie. Jake stammered, "Dude, this isn't what it looks like." He moved toward the TV, as if proximity could erase what my eyes had already seen. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I folded my napkin, placed it on the table, and said, "Pack your things." My voice was quiet enough that it made the room feel larger, too large for their excuses. Mia sobbed, blame spilling out in frantic, ugly little sentences. "I'm sorry. He made me feel..." Jake tried to explain, but his words floated and fell, meaningless. They begged. They cried. They accused me of overreacting and of being cruel. I listened like someone listening to the weather forecast, calm, transactional. I handed Mia a printed eviction notice and slid another across to Jake. "You have 24 hours to be gone," I said. The paper felt heavier than it should have, the lease's legal weight settling in the air between us. They scrambled, muffled apologies, frantic packing, clothes shoved into bags. I walked to the door, the stale apartment smell, old pizza, candle wax, seeming unbearably intimate. Behind me, boxes thudded. Mia's voice cracked. "Please, don't do this." I paused with my hand on the knob and didn't turn back. The next morning, the apartment was eerily quiet. No laughter, no footsteps, no scent of Mia's perfume. Just empty air and silence pressing against the walls. I walked through the rooms they'd shared behind my back. Sheets gone, drawers half open, a broken picture frame face down on the floor. Their absence felt heavier than their betrayal. By noon, I changed the locks. Watching the locksmith drill into the old metal felt like sealing a wound. Mia called over and over, first sobbing, then angry, then pitiful. "You can't just throw me out. We were supposed to fix this." I didn't answer. Each call went straight to voicemail until the buzzing stopped for good. Jake sent one message. "I never meant for this to happen, bro." I deleted it without opening it. Mutual friends started reaching out, too. Some wanted details, some tried to defend them. "She made a mistake." "He feels awful." I ignored them all. I wasn't looking for pity or validation. I just wanted quiet. But quiet can be cruel. Nights were the worst. I'd stare at the empty side of the bed, remembering how I used to believe her breathing meant safety. Now it only reminded me how blind I'd been. I stopped cooking, stopped watching TV. Even music felt fake. Every lyric sounded like a lie someone once told me. Still, beneath the exhaustion and grief, A strange calm started to form. I'd already survived the worst part, finding out the truth. Now there was nothing left to lose. One night, sitting on the floor with a single lamp lighting the room, I whispered to myself, "You did the right thing." But part of me didn't believe it yet. Part of me wondered if justice was really over, or if this was just the beginning. Time moved slowly after they left, like the world had forgotten I existed. But in that stillness, something inside me began to shift. The apartment that once felt haunted started to feel like mine again. I replaced the couch, the one they'd defiled, with a new one, smaller but clean. I threw out the sheets, repainted the walls, and started cooking simple meals again. Every small change felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Work became my refuge. I buried myself in projects, staying late, volunteering for extra hours. My boss noticed, and within months, I got promoted. The pay raise wasn't just money, it was momentum. I started saving aggressively, determined to build something that no one could ever take from me again. One afternoon, my realtor friend called. "Hey," she said, "you know that apartment building you live in? The landlord's selling. Whole thing's going up for grabs." At first, I laughed. "Yeah, sure. Maybe in another lifetime." But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The building, my building. The place that had seen my highest and lowest moments. The idea of owning it felt poetic. I checked my finances, ran numbers, and realized something shocking. With my savings, a small business loan, and a bit of luck, I could actually do it. The thought lit a fire in me. It wasn't just about property. It was about power. The same walls that once held my humiliation could now hold my redemption. Standing on my balcony one night, looking down at the streetlights, I felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Not the fragile kind that comes before a storm, but the kind that comes after you've already survived it. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I smiled. Because deep down, I knew this story wasn't over yet. Not even close. Once the idea took root, it wouldn't leave me alone. I met with my realtor friend again that week. She walked me through the numbers, the inspections, the financing options. "It's a stretch," she warned, "but if anyone can pull this off, it's you." Those words hit deeper than she realized. For months, I'd been defined by betrayal. Now, for the first time, I was being defined by possibility. The process was grueling. Paperwork, negotiations, sleepless nights filled with doubt. But every obstacle reminded me why I was doing this. It wasn't just to own property. It was to reclaim the place where I'd been broken and turn it into proof that I'd survived. Then came the twist of fate. I couldn't have written better myself. During one of the final property walkthroughs, my realtor mentioned offhandedly, "Funny thing, your ex Mia and that guy Jake, they're renting one of the lower units now. Guess they moved in a few months ago." My stomach tightened, but I didn't show it. "Oh," I said casually, though my heart was pounding. "Small world." That night, I sat in my car outside the building, watching the light from their window flicker. I could see faint silhouettes. Two people who once thought they'd gotten away clean, now living under a roof I was about to own. The irony was almost cinematic. When the sale finalized, I signed the papers with a steady hand. The property deed had my name, my full name, printed bold at the top. I felt a quiet, powerful calm settle over me. They once used my kindness to live rent-free in my apartment. Now, without knowing it, they were about to live under my ownership, on my terms, by my rules. And I wasn't planning to tell them. Not yet. The first time I walked through the building as the new owner, I felt the air shift. Every hallway, every creak in the floorboards, every faded number on a door. It all belonged to me now. The irony was intoxicating. I wasn't just living here anymore. I was the landlord. When I reached their unit, I paused. Their names, Mia Harper and Jake Collins, were neatly written on the mailbox. I traced my finger over the label for a second, just to feel the weight of it. I could have knocked right then, revealed everything, watched the blood drain from their faces. But that would have been too easy, too loud. I wanted this victory to whisper, not scream. Instead, I had my property manager deliver updated lease agreements. Rent was going up slightly. Nothing extreme, just enough to sting. Payment dates were strict now, no grace periods, no favors. When Mia called the manager to complain, she was told the new owner's policy was non-negotiable. A week later, I crossed paths with her in the hallway. She didn't notice me at first. She was too busy arguing with Jake over money. But when our eyes met, something flickered in hers. Recognition, maybe guilt. "You still live here?" she asked, voice flat. "Yeah," I said evenly. "I own a place here." It wasn't a lie. Jake nodded awkwardly, forcing a half smile before dragging her away. Watching them walk off, I didn't feel rage anymore, just quiet satisfaction. A month later, rent day came, and when they missed the deadline by 2 days, the late fee notice went out automatically. Mia tried calling the office again, angry and desperate, but all she got was the same calm voice. "We don't make exceptions. The owner insists on consistency." I didn't need to say a word. The rules, the silence, and the irony were speaking for me. Weeks passed, and the balance of power had quietly flipped. The people who once used my generosity as a weapon now stumbled under the weight of responsibility. I never once revealed myself as the landlord, but every month the rent payments hit my account, like clockwork. Each deposit felt like poetic repayment, a small, silent justice for every night I'd spent drowning in humiliation. Through the property manager, I learned the cracks were starting to show. They'd missed another payment, argued constantly, and neighbors reported screaming matches echoing down the hallway. Jake had apparently lost his job, and Mia's part-time gig barely covered half the rent. Karma didn't just visit, it moved in. One evening, while checking maintenance requests, I saw one submitted by Mia. Urgent, leak under kitchen sink. I assigned it to myself. I wanted to see them. When she opened the door, her expression froze. She looked thinner, tired, makeup smudged like she'd been crying. "You?" she whispered. "Yeah," I said, calm as ever. "I handle repairs sometimes." Behind her, Jake appeared, shirt half buttoned, eyes bloodshot. The tension between them hung heavy. "You two holding up?" I asked, crouching near the sink. The question was casual, but she flinched like I'd swung a blade. She mumbled, "We're fine." "Good," I replied. "Just make sure rent's on time next month. The new owner's not flexible." I stood, wiped my hands, and left without another glance. 2 weeks later, I got notice they'd vacated the unit. No confrontation, no goodbye, just silence. When I entered the empty space, I saw the stains on the wall where they'd hung their framed photo. The smell of cheap perfume still lingered. A neighbor told me Jake moved back with his parents, and Mia was couch hopping with friends. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. When my phone buzzed that night, it was a message from her. "You got what you wanted." I stared at the screen for a moment before typing back, "No, I got what I earned." Months passed before I set foot in that building again. By then I'd sold it. Every brick, every scarred wall, every memory of what had happened there. The profit was substantial, more than I ever thought possible. But the real reward wasn't the money. It was walking away on my terms. After finalizing the sale, I packed up my things and left the city. I wanted distance, not just from them, but from the man I used to be. I found a small place near the coast, quiet and uncluttered, with salt in the air and space to breathe. There, the silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt earned. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch at night, watching the lights of fishing boats flicker in the distance, and think about how betrayal changes people. It doesn't just break trust, it breaks illusions. I used to believe love was proof of loyalty. Now I know it's not. Loyalty stands alone, unprovoked and unbought. I never heard from Mia or Jake again after that final text. No apologies, no closure. But I realized I didn't need it. The closure wasn't in their regret. It was in my peace. They were chapters in a book I'd already finished. Still, there was a strange poetry in how things ended. They'd both lived off my kindness once, rent-free, carefree, thinking they'd outsmarted me. In the end, they unknowingly paid me month after month, feeding the very success that erased them from my life. One evening, while driving through the old neighborhood, I slowed near my former apartment. The building looked smaller now, less significant. A new sign hung out front. For rent. I smiled just once and kept driving, because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was free.